Hey guys, so today we're checking out the MP Concepts sequential turn signals with a smoked lens, fitting all 2018 and newer JL Wranglers, excluding the sport models. So if you are in search of an upgrade for the lighting for the front end of your JL, you're looking for something a lot sleeker and that's going to be brighter and more noticeable while you're driving around on the street, this option by MP Concepts is going to be right up your alley. Now these turn signals will not only come with the turn signal, but it's also going to come with the marker light on the side, making sure that the entire light up front is going to give you a stealthy look and again be a lot more noticeable while you're driving around the street. Now you are going to have that smoked lens on not only the marker light and the turn signal, but on the inside you're going to have some very bright LEDs. Now the marker light is going to have those couple of LEDs on the side, just like we're familiar with our factory marker light. And then on the turn signal, we're going to have a strip up at the top of bright white LEDs, and down at the bottom, we're going to have a strip of amber LEDs that are going to have a sequential function. Now, that sequential function is going to switch it up a decent amount from the factory lights, add a little bit more function to the front end, and it's going to, again, be more noticeable and a lot more stylish while you're driving around, making you safer while you're driving around on the street, but also adding a lot of style and stealth to the front end. Not to mention, these are going to be pretty durable, so if you do take your Jeep out off-road often, these are going to definitely be able to hold up to whatever you throw at them, any kick up on the trail or even just on the street. Now with all of that being said, these are going to come in at roughly $250 as a full package for both the marker light and the turn signal on both sides. Now in comparison to other choices on the page, a lot of options won't come with both the turn signal and the marker light in a package. That's where this one does, kind of giving you a one-up on some of the other options available on the page. Not to mention, these are going to have that sequential function. Some other options are just going to offer the smoked lens or some type of blacked out look, or they're going to offer something a little bit different as far as the styling. But when it comes to not only the function and the styling, this is where the option by MP Concepts is going to have that one up. It brings a little bit more to the table than some other choices. So for $225, I definitely think it is well worth that price point. Now when it comes to install, these are going to be completely plug and play, so it's going to be a no hassle design. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour to get the job done in your driveway with some pretty basic hand tools. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were an electric ratchet, a trim removal tool, a couple extensions, a 10mm and 8mm socket, and a T30 and T25 torque socket. So in order to access our turn signal, we will have to peel back or completely remove our inner fender liner to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. I'm going to completely remove it. So that consists of a couple of screws and clips. So I'm going to start by taking off the couple of clips up at the front. So there's going to be a clip up in the corner and there's going to be one in the corner over by the body mount. I'm going to take out this one first using a trim removal tool. Then we can take off the inner one. Using the same trim removal tool, we can take off the inner clip. Then we can move to the screws up at the front. Next, we can use an 8mm socket to remove the 2 screws that are holding in the inner fender liner up at the front. Then the upper middle part of our fender liner, we're going to have a 10mm bolt. I'm going to use a 10mm socket to remove that. Last but not least, we're going to have 2 clips down at the back of our fender. Now, as you can see, we are missing one, but I'm going to use that same trim removal tool to remove the other one. And then we can remove our inner liner. What we can do at this point, you can take a trim removal tool or like a soft pry tool and kind of pry on this. There's a couple of rivets on the side of the fender that you may have to kind of pry the inner liner off of. It is pretty much stuck in there, so you kind of have to bend it out of place. So right next to the 10mm bolt, there is going to be another one in the center. I'm going to use a 10mm socket to remove that one as well. So after you've kind of pried the edges out with a trim tool, we can just pull down and wiggle this out of place. So in order to access the bolts for our turn signal, we do need to remove this plastic piece. So we're gonna start by removing the 10mm bolt down at the bottom here. This is a welded piece that's connected to the body of the Jeep, and then there's also gonna be one at the top that's gonna allow us to pull the fender away and kind of wiggle this plastic piece out. So I'm gonna use a 10mm socket to remove those 2 bolts. Same with the top one. So once that is disconnected, we can pull our fender away. Now you may have to kind of give this a good pop because it is held in by a clip there, but once this plastic piece clears, we can drop this down and we'll be able to access the bolts that are holding in our turn signal. So after the lower bracket is flipped out of the way, we need to remove the upper one. So there are 3 bolts that are holding it in. I'm going to use a T30 Torx in order to remove those. Now there's going to be one over the side that may be a little bit difficult to see here. One in the middle. And there's going to be one over on the outer edge. And what we can do with that then is pull this out and wiggle this out of the way. And that'll give us full access to the bolts that we need to remove for the turn signal itself. So now we have full access to the turn signal. So I'm going to take a T25 Torx socket and we can remove the 4 bolts that are holding that in. Now the 2 up at the top may be a little bit difficult to see. You may need a small extension for the one up at the back. And give this a good twist, pull back, disconnect this harness here. By pulling back there. Then we can take out our marker light. So because our turn signal and our marker light are connected, we do have to take out our marker light first. So there is a T30 Torx bolt. Maybe a little bit difficult to see, but it's right on the side here. I'm just going to take a T30 Torx socket and remove that. Once that's out, we can pop this out of place by just pushing forward. And then we can disconnect this connection here, pop this out to the side, then we should be able to remove our turn signal. So before we hop into the rest of the install, I do want to stop down and show you guys a little comparison between our new lights and our factory ones, show you some of the similarities and differences between the two, and why this is going to be a big upgrade for the front end of your JL. Now starting off with just a brief overview of our factory light. As you can see here, this is going to have a very stock look to it, and it's also going to have a very stock functionality, or stock functions, as you would say. So we're going to have a clear lens on the front, a chrome housing on the inside. That's going to give it a very classic look, and then we're also going to have the LEDs inside as well. Now moving over to the marker light, we're going to have that amber reflector or lens on the outside, and we're going to have a couple LEDs inside as well. So overall, again, just a very stock look. Now moving over to this new option, it's going to be completely opposite. Now we are going to have LEDs in not only the marker, but the turn signal as well. But again, you are getting a big upgrade when it comes to the look and stealthy look of the front end of the JL. So we're going to have a smoke lens on the front on not only our turn signal, but also our marker light. And these are going to be fully LED, like I mentioned, but the turn signal is going to have a sequential function. So if we take a look at our factory turn signal, that is just going to blink and have a standard blink whenever we actuate our turn signals or our hazards. But with this option, it is going to have a sequential function, but that is going to add some extra styling, and it's also going to make you a lot more noticeable while you're driving around on the street. Now the LEDs inside of the turn signal are going to be a bright white, and then the LEDs on the inside of our marker light are going to illuminate in an amber color, so you are still getting that kind of functionality when it comes to the actual lighting, but again, you are getting a big step up when it comes to the sequential feature as well as the smoked lens on the front. And it's also going to be completely plug and play. This is going to plug directly into the wiring harness from the factory, making it incredibly easy to do so. So what do you say we go ahead and install our new light? So we will have to get our factory wiring harness out of the way, which is held in at the back part of our fender by a couple of clips that run to the back. So I'm going to take a trim removal tool, the one that we used before, and we can just pop these out of place. Once all the clips are released, what we can do is disconnect the wiring harness at the plug. So it might even be helpful to take this out as well. So I'm using that trim removal tool again just to pry that out. Then we'll have better access to it. We can pull down on that red locking tab, and then we can disconnect the harness. So now we can take our new light and we can fit this into place. There's going to be two studs that you need to line up. Then we can take our factory bolts and we can bolt them into place. Now these are the T25 screws, so I'm going to get two down at the bottom secure. And then we can go back and do the top ones. So now we can install the top two, which may be a little bit difficult to see because they are tucked pretty high up. Just using that T25 to get them started, hand threading them. And we can go back and tighten them up. Then we can take the wire that's connected to our light and we can just route it up where our factory one was. So I'm just gonna place it under these two mounts. Then we can plug it in at the back. Then we can plug this into our factory plug. Make sure you hear a click. You can secure this back up and into place where that clip was. Then we can move back up to the front. Next, we can take our marker light, feed that wire through, line this up. There's gonna be a couple of clips that we need to slide into place. So it's gonna sit forward like this and then it'll just slide back. Then we can take our factory bolt in a T30 Torx and we can thread that in. We can tighten that up with the same T30. And it'll pull it into place. Now once that's pulled into place, what we can do is plug in our wiring harness. Once that clips in, you can just make sure that this is up and out of the way, and then we can start to button everything back up. Next, we can install our supporting bracket. So this is going to slide into our fender right here. Then we can kind of place it up where it needs to be and hook it around that top bracket. We also want to make sure that the wire is out of the way and not interfering with our fender at all. Right. Then we can take the T30 Torx bolts that we originally removed. Just screw those into the back of our turn signal here. Once those are hand threaded in, we can tighten them up. Once those are tightened, what we can do is again pull our fender away, tuck this up into place, and then we can secure the 2 bolts down on the body with that 10mm socket. Next, we can take those 10mm factory bolts and secure them back into place. This is what's holding the fender onto the body here. We can tuck our inner liner back into place. And we can secure it down once it's positioned correctly. Then we can take our 2 factory 10mm bolts, secure the center. Then we can secure the 2 bolts and 2 clips up at the front, the bolts or the screws. I'm going to use an 8mm socket. We can pop our clips back into place. Same for the inside. Then we can do the same thing with the clips for the back, and then we'll be all set to go. So we can take our last clip and clip that into place at the back. And we're all set to go. So that is going to wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos and products just like this, and always keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.